Some music on here. Hallelujah, Campbell. Get some music going. Let's change it up. You hear me, sister? Tokrista, that's it, yeah. Hallelujah. Gotta thank them. Yenge. I always like to honor the Toquistas, the Church of Jesus Christ in the world, they call themselves, but we know it's Isaela Congo with the names that things are coming out now. Of course, Simon Toko really couldn't do a lot of this stuff because he was under duress all the time, and this is what I'm going to get to. But he knew certain things that he couldn't always say. But I'm doing this message because a lot of people are dealing with the concept of finance and scriptures. And of course, those who are misteaching it to benefit themselves in ways that are actually being done illegally. But this is something that the world has been dealing with, and it's actually the Banabetu of Isolele, the Banakongo's fault. Okay, that's part of the problem. And so we're going to get into that. The historical records, of course, we know there's been a lot of alteration and changes in historical facts because the world is not being told that the fallen angels are manipulating things so that it hides certain aspects of history so that people don't recognize the deception. I want to greet everybody that's here today. Yenge, Kembo Kema, Tatanzambi, and Pung Namazulu, King Fumo Kyaku Isa, honoring our brother with that one. I want to say Yenge Keno, Lovuva Mo Yala. That means Judah, for those that don't know. We want to thank you all for being here. I hope that Tanzambi will bring this message forward because the world has indeed been deceived by the concept of wealth and finance. What people don't even realize is the banking system is actually a curse, not a blessing. And it goes back to when the Most High actually caused many nations to fall using financial manipulation. It's actually taxation has been the downfall of every superpower that's ever existed. And people don't even realize that's why America being in debt is actually scripturally supposed to be a curse against it. And that's what people don't know, that's part of the problem. When I look at many things in this system, because I studied finance and I was, my father's a big time financial person. This is where we always differ and interpretation, because the mindset of the Christian is to follow the scripture that talks about render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And this is one of the things that I'm going to get into, is that this is an actual manipulation to feed into the Roman system that really never changed, just modified itself. This is the big issue. So I want to first of all give praise and honor Ngolo and Kimba Tatazami and Pungu Tulendo. I want to honor Isaia Kuswa, the Mwana Velada, give honor to the 24 elders, the Banabetu of Isolele, who are the righteous descendants, the lineage of us back down to Kama and to Semi, again, because Kama, he went the wrong way. But, we still have some ancestry with him. Also, down to our Yaya, our grandpa, Adama Yakongo, give honor to him as well. We still wouldn't be here, even though I know he did what he did. We still wouldn't be here today as a chosen nation. And again, it goes back to the Most High gave us the option to fix what Adama Yah did, but we chose otherwise, as we will see. So I'm going to start with the fact that this is going to be showing you that the religious system, and I forgot, I wanted to bring up, I forgot to bring up my chiller deck, but I'll talk about what he said. The system that we currently live in, because we know we're dealing with the tax season now, where people are paying taxes and all these different things. And even if you look at the beginning of the world, peace and blessings, okay, even the beginning of this nation, there was an issue with taxes, okay, because of what happened with England and all the different things, but there was a manipulation in this factor, okay. They never really changed it. They just modified what they did. And that's the concept. Because the understanding now with our founding fathers is the deception behind them is they were worshiping the Egyptian gods in secret. Okay, and this is the thing that this world was going to find out soon enough, that they were not really they were not really worshiping. When they put the God of the Bible, the God that they claim that they be worshiping is not the God of Aban, Saka, Yakubi, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the deception. Okay. Though we've been made to think that they were, but they were not. Okay. And so it goes back to historical facts that taxation actually goes back all the way to the days of Noah. Okay. And like I said, the saddest part, and even as I got done my more due diligence to learn more things about, history in that time frame that they've hidden, because there's a reason why they hid that a lot of stuff about the days of Noah, is because a lot of what you're experiencing now was done back then. And I now know that for some reason, Shaytani chose to use many of the descendants of Lamech to be a part of this, including the Ganun that we know talk about it. Ganan is another son of his that people didn't really know about. Tubal, Jubal, and Jabal Cain, because he had mixtures with the Cain seed. And of course, now Norca would be the one that would rectify or be the one chosen out of those children. So the system of putting people in debt, it goes back to the wickedness, because after we now know that Hanak had unified the world and brought the people together, Shaytani made a plan to destroy it. Because remember I told you there was wickedness before Enoch, and I guess now it was Ganun who was part of that wickedness. And then when Enoch fixed a lot of things, Satan came and used the other brothers, the Tubal, Jubal, and Jabal, Cain, to mess up things again. Okay, so it goes, and the cities got built and many things, because that 500-year span that Noah was preaching, his brothers had actually preceded that when, because Lamech had killed Tubal, and then Jabal, and Jubal and Jabal took over from there. But it was definitely it's going to show you that a lot of the stuff that happened with those spirits come into the next side. Because if you read the book of Jasher, it shows you that Nimrod was in a war with the Cush, the children of Cush, Kesh, Hamites, Kamites, were in a war with Japheth. Okay, this is what they call it. This is the real Nilotic wars. And Semi, of course, they were part of it too, because they were upset that Semi was given the greater portion of the earth by the Most High. Okay, so what's going to transpire is, of course, the kingdom of Babylon. Nimrod was actually blessed by the Most High originally. Then he turned against the Most High. He became more wicked than anybody from the time of the flood, as he talked about it. But that's going to spawn the fanning out of mindsets that starts with the Pharaoh Khufu, which we know he's a Benakongo, and related to Abana, by the way, Abraham. They hide this fact, but they call him Rehoboam. He came from and we know he came from Babylon, because it was all that Kemetic system was under Babylon at the time. And so I'm going to talk about this scripture. Let's go. Now, first of all, the biblical law of taxes and usury was really not something the Most High wanted for his people. This is the deception that many Christians don't understand. The Holy Spirit is not going to lead you to go against something the Most High doesn't really care for. This is the whole concept of deceivership that is being brought through the concept of religion. Okay. And you're going to see, even in the land of Kemet, it was not something that was verily accepted, but then seen to become prosperous. Okay. Which would then lead to many to bringing back the concept of the banking system. And I'm actually going to give you the understanding of the word Kimbangu, by the way. It means testimony. Let's see, where is it? I hate when oh man, where did I put it? Sorry. I have so many things open and I always forget where it's at. So in this scripture, what it's going to show you is that there was a man. It's actually, like I said, it's Khufu. And what he did, there's my tip right there, was there we go. He brought about the concept of taxation in the Kemet. And he says, and Rikayon is how they say it in Jasper, but it's Khufu. Okay. Wish to do the same in order to keep maintenance in the city. Now, here's the concept, they talk about taxes have to do with maintenance and keeping up with things and all the different stuff and helping people gain, rebuild stuff. But it talks about, but he was unacquainted with the custom of the people because he's here in Kemet, okay? And he was like a blind man among them. And he went and obtained vegetables to sell for his support. And the rabble assembled about him and ridiculed him and took his vegetables from him and left him with nothing. So the original first Pharaoh, okay, this is the historians are probably going to always go crazy about this because they were, remember, Kemet himself was a king. This is Kemet, the son of Hana of Kama, was the king of the time. Okay, people understand this concept. They hide these things, and of course he was a black man. He had set up his children as kings as well of his land, and so he rose up from there in bitterness of his soul and went sighing to the bakehouse in which he had remained all the night before, and he slept there the second night. And on the night again he reasoned with himself, and he could save himself from starvation, and he devised a scheme how to act. Now, who is going to help you devise a scheme? When you talk about spirituality, okay, we know who is a schemer. And he rose up in the morning and acted ingeniously, and went out and hired 30 strong men of the rabble, carrying their war instruments in their hands, and he led them to the top of the Egyptian sepulchre, and he placed them there. And he commanded them, saying, "Thus says the king." So he's declaring himself a king, and remember he's a nobody. Okay, this is Khufu, the one they call Khufu. "Strengthen yourselves and be valiant men, and let no man be buried here until 200 pieces of silver be given, and then he may be buried." And those men did according to order of Rakion to the people of Kamata the whole of that year. Now remember, so this is where you get, this is a burial tax that he's starting off with, a burial tax. And in the 8 months' time, Rikayon, or Khufu, and his men gathered great riches of silver and gold, and Rakion Khufu took a great quantity of horses and other animals and hired more than men, and gave them horses, and they remained with him. And when the year came round at the time, the king went forth unto the town of all the inhabitants of Kamata, assembled themselves to speak him concerning work. So now the real king, okay, the real king, which I'm pretty sure this is going to be Kemet or one of his sons. I'm not sure the whole lineage. I haven't really checked that like I should, but he comes out and he wants to know what's the deal, okay? Because he comes around once a year checking on stuff, and he said, "And the king went forth on the appointed day of all the Egyptians came before him and cried unto him, saying, May the king live forever." So they've always said this because it comes back to, like even what Nimrod was doing. Because this is happening after Babylon started to break apart. "What is this thing that thou hast done to the town thy servants, not to suffer a dead body to be buried until so much silver and gold be given? Was there ever like unto this done in the whole earth for the days of the former kings, yea, even the days of Adama, unto this day, that the dead should not be buried only for a set price?" So Adama, it goes back to the history of, they know the history of Adama Yah, to say that we didn't charge to bury people, even in the days of Noah. Now, I don't know if I know the seed of Cain probably did, but I'm pretty sure the seed of Cain did, but the Seth did not. Okay? We know that it to be the custom of the kings to take a yearly tax from the living. But thou dost not only do this, but from the dead also the exact is attacked day by day. So he's charging the living and the dead. Okay? So let's go back to, hey, brother, Sammy. So we're sitting here learning how the taxation process becomes the reality that is going to be actually brought down through the historical records. And this is where you get the custom, when they say put a coin for the ferryman and all this other stuff. And of course, they call it tribute in later cultures. Okay, let me get back to it. quick. Okay. And when the king heard all that had been spoken, he was very wroth, and his anger burned within him at this affair, for he had known nothing of it. So this guy, he's a scammer. This is a scammer, okay? That made him, he was broke and made himself rich by taxing the poor, the dead. Okay. Now, of course, we see there was actually taxation of the living. So the king had already been doing tribute before this. The king said, "Who and where is he that dares to do this wicked thing in my land without my command? Surely you will tell me." And they told him all the works of Rikayon and his men, and the king's anger was aroused, and he ordered Rikayon and his men to be brought before him. And when Rikayon took about 1,000 of children, sons and daughters, and clothed them in silk and embroidery, and set them up on horses, and sent them to the king by means of his men, and also took a great quantity of silver and gold and precious stones, and strong and beautiful horses as a present for the king, with which he came before the king, bowed down to the earth before him. And the king, his servants, and all the inhabitants of Ikamata wondered at the work of Rikayon. And they saw his riches and the present, and he brought to the king. Now remember, this man is Ben a Congo. He's Muntu. Okay, he's a Bena of the Most High. And it greatly pleased the king, and he wondered at it. And Rikayon set before him, the king asked him concerning. Now again, what is the one thing that will always bring joy to a king is wealth. This is our weakness. Okay. And greatly pleased, the king wondered at it, and Rakion, which is really Khufu, set before him, the king asked concerning all the works. And Rikayon spoke all the words wisely before the king and inhabited. And when the king heard the words of Rikayon and his wisdom, Rikayon found grace in his sight, and he met with the grace of kindness from all the servants of the king, from all the inhabitants of Kamatan, Egypt, on the account of his wisdom, excellent speeches, and from the time they loved him exceedingly. Now keep in mind, the boundaries of Egypt at this time are not what you see today. It was much bigger. So this is a lie. And the king answered and said to Rikayon, "Thy name shall no more be called." Now, they had in this name because it was Pharaoh Kovu. The name shall no longer be called Rikayon, but Pharaoh shall be thy name, since thou didst exact a tax from the dead, and he called his name Pharaoh. So this is why in Kamata, Egypt, they made such a big deal about burying wealth with the dead and taxes. Okay, starting with this guy. Okay, so he begins honoring this is where you start to see pharaohs being buried with great wealth for the afterlife concept starting to unfold in the kingdom. Because of what this man did, he exacted a tax, okay, that was for burying the dead. So he started a tradition of embalming, the mummies and all this stuff that they did and the dead concept. This is going to come back to haunt the Benakongo, okay, because the Most High did not like this. The Banabetu, this is why he was saying, do not learn you the ways of the heathen, because this is something the Most High was not okay with. All right? He was not okay with this. Hold on one second. Let me just answer this real quick. I don't know why this phone is acting, man. open it. What's going on? Sorry. Okay. So what we see happening, sorry for that, is the concept of taxes and usury. Okay, starting to become an idea. Now we know it wasn't just him though, because we know Nimrod did some things in Babylon where he was expected to receive gifts. Okay, but this is the first time when a man, he angered the king of Kemet when he was doing it, but he was making a profit that was blessing the king. So from there, you start the dynasties, the lineages, start the Khufu, the whole concept. Where, and then of course, after the Babylonian system imploded with the death of Nimrod, his gods now become connected to the Egyptian system that will then take this to a whole nother level, especially when the children of Isolele would become in this land after what happened with Abana, after what happened with Yakubi, and of course, by selling Yosefu into slavery and bondage, and the brothers, okay. And of course, our people were very familiar with this system because we had interactions with Isolele. This is the hidden history that they hide because the Hittites themselves were separate from this. They also had knowledge of this system. Okay, this is why now their ancestry runs the banking systems today. The Ashkenaz. Okay, so what the Most High was showing in this concept in the scriptures here is that what this man is doing is really a curse, not a blessing, that was starting to form in Kemet. Because remember, he's scheming, he was trying to feed himself. Okay, but it doesn't say that the Most High blessed him with this knowledge. Okay, because it wasn't something that the Most High really would have favored, because if it was Adama, he said, nobody has done this. We didn't do this with Adama. We didn't do this with, so this man has now brought curses really upon the children of Kemet by bringing apart this scheme of taxing both the living and the dead. Because he would charge people, and if you see now, even today, if you look at the burial system, because I know I have relatives that were in it, okay, why they charge you so much money to bury someone. And it goes back to this system. Now, how does this play out in this time is, remember, the churches are responsible for funerals. The churches are responsible for burying people, right? But if you look at the traditional concept of the burial, it resembles the ancient Egyptian ways. If you just look at it, the whole concept, okay? Being in a casket, which is a sarcophagus, embalming. Of course, they don't wrap you up like a mummy, but they still do the concept of embalming you, okay? You have the ceremonial burying of a person that and see the concept. Many people don't realize the resemblance of what they used to do in the days of Kemet. Okay, this is something that was even brought into the Greek and the Roman And now American and other systems, European systems. Okay? But what it started to determine is the way to get wealth out of people was from taxing them. Okay? To where the ownership is not really theirs, but belongs to the state. Okay? And this is something that what happened is when you look at the way the system was set up through Massa and the Most High, this is not something that the Most High was in favor of, to where you would put your brother or sister in a bind financially through wealth distribution. This is why he would get upset and say circumcise. That's why he had to make the rules when he said, if you're gonna make somebody borrow, you're gonna have limitations. Because he already knew how we were acting even then. Okay? This is not something that he was doing because he was trying to make it into the carnal mindset that we now have grown to be about. Okay? It was the understanding that he knew that we were going to do these things. So he better put limits on it or else we take advantage. And this is what happened. We didn't even when he put the limits on it, we still did it wrong. Okay? He said, look, I don't want you putting, because he never wanted the people to really be in debt. That was the concept. And when Kuswa Kongo came, Isaia and his disciples, he validated that. And I'll get into that. How you can tell everybody that the system is upside down now. Okay? Because our people rejected the Most High's ways. This is why we killed the prophets who were trying to point this out, where it was like, look, the Most High doesn't want it like this. He wants you to circumcise your heart. Okay? So Isolele was supposed to set the example that what this king had started in Kemet was totally wrong. When the Most High would set up his kingdom in Isolele, Isaela, to say, look, we're not going to do it like the heathens do. We're going to treat the stranger right. We're not going to abuse our brothers and sisters. We're not going to take advantage. And the priests for doggone sure are not going to manipulate the people. Now, is that what happened? Well, we're sitting here in bondage again. So obviously not. Because this is a concept that we continue to not understand. And it's going to go back to, this is why now we have identity theft and everything going on. Because the Bana Congo, the Bana Isolele, the Bana zombies, and even with the leadership we have now in Africa today, this is what they're running off of, thinking because of a misidentity. Because technically, Ashkenaz is doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing when it comes to Babylon. Because the people don't know, this is Babylon. Because they did it in the time of Nebuchadnezzar, when the Most High sent people to go and clean out Babylon. Ashkenaz was one of them. But this time, Ashkenaz is coming with the identity of Jacob, which is wrong. Because they stole it in order to obtain wealth, by the way. This is what was happening. Okay? Because Christianity itself was becoming a wealthy religion. Just look at the cardinals and the popes and everybody else. They had the promise that they were having popes who were promising you you're going to make it into the kingdom. When the Vatican was broken, They would, pay money and all these different things. When the historical record, you'll see when Rome was having issues, they would come up with ways to make money. Taxation, they brought back the ancient Roman ways of taxation in the church through the tithes concept. Okay? Because the wars, this is why at one point you had two different popes, one in France, one in Rome, fighting each other over different things. So, in all reality, it goes back to the concept that we are not doing things the right way, but you have been conditioned to think that this is the way it's supposed to be. And the Bena Congo have a lot to do with it because in the system, you look at Bantu culture, was always about bartering and setting up. Y'all did a very good illustration of how the money system was meant to flow in the proper way in the Kingdom of Congo to where people were not supposed to be indebted, which comes from learning from what Isaia set up with his disciples, because they were more than 12. Okay, so let me show you. People will say, well, but when Josiah was here in Kuswa, he told the followers, render unto Caesar what is Caesar. Well, here's the thing though. The land of Isolele, Isaela, was occupied territory of the Romans. We were not the leadership. We were allowed to operate, okay, our system. Of course, the Khazarians were now started to infiltrate as well. And it started to put things to where remember, Rome was choosing the kings. And many times the king that he was put over was not even a Muntu, a Benacongo. Not King Herod, he was not. Okay? So what was happening is we put ourselves in this position after what happened with King Solomon when he turned his heart away from the Most High. So let's get into it. The book of Maccabee, which of course we know really talks about us because it talks about where they lay in the image that they painted themselves in our likeness. Okay, so now it says, and in those days, and I've talked about this before, there were out of Isolele wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen. Now remember, this is breaking Lamilia 10:2 when he says, learn ye not the ways of the heathen. Now remember, the heathen at this time were the Greeks. So don't think that they keep talking about how they're not the heathens anymore. They still the heathen. Okay? Oh, we converted. We took in the Most High and we became Christians and all this. No. This is the whole concept of the deception that the heathen can never be above Isolele. This is the deception. They cannot replace Yaoundé. They cannot replace Isolele. But they started this process later on. Okay? So now, in those days, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed, we have much sorrow. Now, why do we have sorrow? We have sorrow because we were disobeying Tatanzambi. We were disobeying the Most High. So the device pleased them. So who is now causing this to happen is Shaytani. Okay? This is Shaytani's work with these men saying, we need to go make, because why? He's trying to destroy Isolele. He wants Yakuba to once again go back into bondage so that we would lose our inheritance and not be able to do the judgment. This has always been the plan for generations for him. Because he was trying to, first of all, stop Uzziah from coming, Kuswa, and he wanted to disrupt the Most High's plans. And we fought for it all the time. This is the biggest problem with the Bena Congo, the Bena Zombies, the black people of Isolele. We fall for the trap as a nation. And now, with the identity theft, we don't even know who we are. So our leaders are operating under the strong delusion of the Most High Tatanzambi, where everything has now been changed as Daniel prophesied the beast would. Daniel's prophecy was for the changing of the ways and the statutes and the laws of the Benanzambi, the Benakongo people, which he knew and he saw what was going to happen. This is why when you look at many Christianity and when they start breaking down Daniel and the interpretations, it's wrong. Because he's talking about the Bena Isolele, which they don't even recognize. Because the devil made sure that he would masquerade to stop the truth from coming out. So the system that is in place today financially is all his. This is why you become a slave to finance. And they do it in such a way to where the person who's being taxed is not even the real person, the straw man, as they call it. Okay? Because it goes back to what this Pharaoh did. Everything is about taxing the person who is dead. Well, they use this concept every single generation of the system, from Greece to Persia to Rome to all. They do this the same thing. This is the reason why when you go to your grave, you technically become debt free, because it passes to the walking dead. This is what people don't understand, because your birth certificate and your death certificate is what runs the system. From the time you're born, you're a slave to the system to the time you die. Because this is why they condition you how you're supposed to make money, how you're supposed to save money, how you're supposed to spend money, how you're supposed to do what with money, how you're supposed to do, when really the whole concept goes against the creator. Because first of all, they're charging you interest, which he said not to do. And they keep you in debt longer than the 7-year period that he instructed us. And you continue to pay. This is why the younger generation now today can't make it. Because they changing the rules. They see, people understand. They talk about inflation and all these different things about and debt to income ratio and the debt ceiling and how much products cost and everything. The people who set the prices, run the system, they're causing this. They raise their own prices on purpose. And they blame it on, it costs more for this and cost. Man, that's a lie. They tell you this because they don't ever want you to catch up to where you should be with them. And they know it. Okay? Because they're on a different plane and a different level, and it's always been like this, even in the different kingdoms. Yes, there's been fight. This is why they fight so much. Because people eventually get tired of it, but it modifies itself. And this is why the cycle has now come around again. People are starting to get tired of it because now they realize they've been lied to. But the system still controls, but this time, there's going to be no recovery as they think because the Most High is going to jump in and boom, it's over. This is what they don't understand. They're getting told what everybody's fallen angels, but the Most High is going to come in and he said, now I've seen enough. Okay. But the thing that we forget as Bena Congo, as Bena Zombies, as Banabetus is the wealth disparity was allowed by the Creator himself because of disobedience. People forget this. This goes back to 2 Thessalonians, okay? Because how did Kuswa Congo and the Abafundi set this up? Let's go to it. Okay, I'm going to read it in the Kikongo, then I'll read it in the English. Kabu diabelaka minu diakala ntima mosi yemuela mosi muntu mosi nkutu kabi. This is Acts 4 verse 32, and in Kikongo it's called Mavanga ma zintuma is what they call it. This is what we call Acts. So they changed it up a lot. Okay. Nkutu lekwa vo I kiandi kansi biabinoso biakala biantwadi kwayao. So this is verse 32. If you want to, I'm sorry, I'll give you time to get your scriptures open. You can read along in the English real quick. I'm sorry about that. I should have told you. But I'm starting from there. Verse 33. Ntumwa zata Kimbangi, this is where I get the word testimony. Kimbangi, Kimbangu. So Mfumu Kimbangu is the Lord, is the Most High's testimony. That's why he was Simo. Simo Kimbangu literally means the seed sower's testimony. And that's what he came to do. He testified for the Most High. That's what people understand. Kiamfumukulu, Kiamfulukulu, Amfumu Yesu Christu. Yesu Christu, not Jesus Christ. And it was Kuswa, and we call it Kuswa Congo. Mu Lulendo Lua Luingi Nlemvu Wawingi Wakala Vayao Babonsono Kadimuntu Wakondwa Lekwa Kakala Yaoko Kadi Babonsono Bavwa Mavia Yezinzo Bateka Bio Banata Ntalu Abina Biatekwa Batula Yova Malu Mazintumwa Kansi Muntu Wakabulwa Bonso Bwakala Nsatu Zandi Yosefi Wabikwa Kwa Zintumwa Nkumba Banaba, not Barnabas, it's Banaba, see? Bu Ibangudulu Iyayi Mwana Wam Bombodolo in Levita Mukanda Mwisa Kipelo Wetaka via Dikavwa Wanata Bi Bivanza Watula Bio Vana Malu Mazintumwa Ingeta. So let's go to the scripture. we just read. So it says in Acts, now the multitude of those who believed were of one heart and one soul, neither did anyone say anything he possessed was his own, but they had all things in common. With the great power, the apostles of the Abafundi gave witness to the resurrection of Isaia Congo, Kuspa Congo, Yesu Christu. Remember it says in Yesu Christu, and great grace was upon them all. Nor was there anyone among them who lacked. For all who were possessors of lands or houses sold them and brought their proceeds of the things that were sold and laid them at the apostles' feet, and they distributed to each one as anyone had need. Okay. Well, what's wrong with this picture? When you pay tithes and offering and taxes do go to Rome and all the other assemblies, or when you give over things, are they redistributing things evenly so that people are not lacking in anything? No. This is the harlot system deceiving you. So this is why when you hear the Pope and these cardinals and stuff, they start talking about how people are not treating each other right. They are hypocrites. Because they're not lacking, but you are. The government system is the president and Congress people, are they lacking? But yet they come and say, oh, we're going to help these people. They have all the advertising. We have all these things set up. But yet they get it back from taxes. They know the system is not designed to help the Bantu of Isolele. But they must masquerade like it is. Now, does that mean that people can't help others that are in need? I did not say that, because we do need to help one another. But there are those who are trying to say they're helping with bad intentions. And they know it. They are masquerading because the false Messiah is Rome. Masquerading. He is doing the same thing that they did in Egypt when he was called Osiris in secret. This is what they're doing. This is why nothing really ever changes in the societies, but they're meant to look like it. This is why you have the disparity in wealth, period. Because the system is Luciferian from the top down. And they know it. This is why Tatanzambi has said, your money will not save you in the day of distress in the book of Isaiah. You can go building all the wealth and things up you want to try to protect yourself from all of these plagues that's going to come upon the earth. And he is telling you, you are deceived if you think that this is going to work. Because Kuswa Kongo himself, the Most High said, we're not supposed to be lacking. So, the Tatanzambi is a man, as a creator that is very wealthy himself. So why are his people lacking? Why are they lacking? Because see, I'll tell you one thing that really works against the people of our own is they love it when they get the person who is more self-oriented for himself than others. And they will tell you, "Oh, I did it. Now you can do it too." Wait a minute. That was never the way. This is the slavery system mindset that was put upon us. That was never the way the Most High intended for His people to act. To tell you, "Oh, I made it. You can make it too." That's garbage. 100% garbage when it goes to the Creator's mindset. You have been twisted in your thinking by those who think like that because that was their way of doing things. Survival of the fittest. You make it, whoever makes it, whatever. Dog eat dog. This is why they want you in debt, because then you can't pay attention to what they're really doing. And you don't pay attention to what your leaders are doing across the world. Because they work for the harlot and they know it. They have been made drunk with the wine, Revelation 17, all the leaders. This is why you're going to get a situation where this gold block shows up in the middle of nowhere in New York. I guess it was New York. Because they flaunt it. They throwing it in your face. We have, you don't. Well, the time is coming. I'm going to tell you, the reality of the reset that they're not telling you is the Most High is going to flip that for those, especially those who are His chosen, that they took from Him. Because they got that wealth through ill-gotten gains. And the Most High will never raise up somebody on purpose. Okay? This is the negative, positive of the fallen angels. What the Most High will do is to bring the judgment against His people by allowing these people to do it. But their role was to what? Bring it back to you. But they didn't do that. This is the deception. They stole it, ID, everything, and started preaching false narratives to convince the people that should know better, the do-gooders as they like to call them. Wait a minute. They think they're doing it right and they're doing it wrong because they're supposed to do Ezekiel 37. This is why it was important to teach this concept of adoption. Okay? I like to grab this before I started and I forgot. I don't know if I left it in the car. Let me run. I'll be right back. I'm going to read something that Simon Toko actually talked about. 1 second. I'm right back. Okay. All right. I'm going to read something that's going to show you that they got it all wrong. and this is how they knew things were going to change, and how they're playing you, and they had all the ideas set up. For those of you that have this book, it's on page 65. I announced the preparation for the end of the world. I cannot hide the word of God, of course, Tatanzambi. Now listen to this. He said, the whites hid the word of Tatanzambi, but I cannot keep it. Remember, because he got into an argument with the Jehovah's Witness about many of the books that he had gotten from them, and he was teaching it because they had some secrets. He said, hey, you can't teach this. He said, why not? This needs to be known. So he's showing you this is what Romans 18, 1 and 18 to 32 is talking about when the Most High said, my wrath is upon those who hide the truth. This is why you see all of the wars and the destruction and the different things that were going on in Asia and Europe for the last 1900 years or so. Because of this, the time of the Gentile, where he's saying your role was not to hide the truth, but to bring out the hope of the full truth. Because I can tell you right now, there's people who get taught things even in seminaries and theology, but they're discouraged from talking about it in the pulpit. And I know they are, from those who really control things. Okay? Now listen to this. From January to February 1964, this is after Kennedy got shot, right? There will be a meeting in heaven to prepare for the end of the world. So the Most High Tatanzambi, this is why you get the predictive programming in Hollywood. Because the Malekis knew the time was up. The Most High was preparing for this down. This is why I talked about it once before. This is why the world was getting ready. This is why a lot of the things started to happen negatively in the 60s, especially against us, because they're like, hey, the Most High is starting to do his thing. These people getting ready to rise up. We better get ahead of this. This is why they really started coming after the black people. This is your King Alfred. This is your Rex 84. All these hidden agendas against the Muntu. Because they were well aware at this time in secret that the world was about to change drastically. And they knew that when the time would come when the Most High would flip what Kimbangu's prophecy said, it was going to be a nightmare for those who want to remain in power. Okay? As for these things people say about me, nothing interests me. Yesu Kristo or Kuswa Kongo will save those who have faith. Europeans do not know this. So let me tell you again, the people from European descent, they are clueless to what's about to happen. As much as they want to attend churches, because see, the church system has always been bringing you back to Rome. And they showed you that on February 2nd when they made the one world religion. Chrislam is in effect. It said even the idea, let me tell you, Pope John Paul II, right after he became Pope, after the other guy was killed allegedly, had already begun the process of bringing it into that concept in the 80s. People don't even know. Okay? Things about the end of the world are already being prepared because it is the works in the flesh. This is the spirit who is telling you these things. So the Mwanda Velela, the Mwanda Semi, can give you the heads up about everything that is about to come to pass if you're really in the spirit and not in the flesh. This is why the whole worldly financial thing is fleshly. This is why people don't pay attention. You've been deceived. Loans and all these things are actually are against the Most High's will. They don't understand that. They've been bamboozled into thinking that somebody being super wealthy is the Most High's blessing, and that's not the case. Not when everybody, when the disciples and Isaiah set it up to where you should be lacking in nothing. So if you're calling yourself a Christian, okay, and you're sitting there on billions, do you see the issue here? They know it's not true. Starting today, because this is 1962. This is before Kennedy got shot. Now you're gonna see the real reason what happened with everybody high about Kennedy. Starting today, December 2nd, 1962, we are going to ask the Most High to operate and change things in the world. Now do you see why they wanted to get rid of this man? Because he had the ability to begin to get the Most High and the Malakis and the angels to begin the process of doing something. This is why you had the Cold War, people. From now on, we have nothing more to say because the world is full of evil. That is, and see, people keep talking about, oh, the world is, oh, it was so much better in the 50s and the 60s, oh, and it got bad in it, and oh, the world is horrible. No, it was already messed up. You just didn't see it because you were dumbed down. And evil, and people do not want to hear. And this is the 1960s. This is through the Billy Graham and everything and all the other. He's saying people do not want to hear the word of the Most High. So you were dealing with the itchy ear folks, okay? In the coming days, we will know if between the Most High and man, who is the wise man? Okay? He goes to read Psalms 53:2, and it says, the Most High looks down from heaven on the children of men to see if there are any who have understanding, who seek the Most High. And many people who think in Christianity and Islam and other religions who always felt they had understanding were in the carnal mindset still and didn't realize it. This is what Malcolm had to say. Now, I'm not saying the Most High can use anybody to give a message. We know this. Okay? But this is what people were trying to tell people back then. It's like, whoa. And this is what they were manipulating at the time so you wouldn't see it. Okay? Because even, in the book of Melchizedek, it says Samael would use religion to keep the gathering of the 12 tribes as one in his 6 days, which is 6,000 years, really. Okay? But it will not be the end of the world, only changes. Whosoever wants to be saved, it is important to know Tatanzambi and Kuswa Congo. Now, of course, he says Jesus Christ, but not the version. This is what I'm going to talk about Simon the Sorcerer, not the concept being promoted. He knew the difference. Okay? Now, listen, for those of you who speculate about Noah. In Noah's time, he started announcing to the people about the end of the world. Now, he even says the date falls, he knew the time in January. So apparently he knew it matched because we knew January didn't exist then, but he knew the time frame. He started waiting 7 days when he entered the ark. And this actually aligns with what the Ashkenazi Jews teach. They said that they know the waters arrived in the time of January. Okay. When the days of the flood were over, he opened the window of the ark to observe the level at which the waters were. Genesis 8:3. All of us who are here are in the ark. So he was saying when you are engaged in the Tokois, the child of Revelations 12, and the things that he was talking about, the Mwanda Velala was already considering you to be in the ark. Because what he was bringing, and I'm not raising him higher than any man or whatever, because he knew he wasn't, okay? But he was showing that the Most High favored. Because Kimbangu followers they're connected to this too, okay? This is why you had to be both, not just one or the other. They're favored, okay? So he's saying, all of us who are here are in the ark. Know one thing, there is little left and we will get out of it. Noah's ark was wooden, but our ark is spiritual. Because here's the deception about the whole concept about the people teaching the rapture and all these different things about how people are going to be taken and taken away. You have to understand the destruction comes to the tares first. And in that process, the spirit protects those who are chosen. So you will see the destruction around you and it will not touch you. This is Psalms 91. But it's only going to be for those who really walk in spirit and in truth, not the people who think that. That's why he kept saying the faith without when he talked about the whole concept of the faith without without grace through faith, the whole concept I'm saved by grace through faith. When he said, then what is the purpose of the lake of fire? Okay. Tatanzambi commanded Noka to make the ark, and he did it. But Noka also urged people to save themselves. So here's what we're saying in this time. This is why I'm talking about this whole system, the banking system, the financial world, the business concepts. Yes, we know about the whole concept of needing, but you cannot operate in it if you're not in the harlot. And this is exactly what Maliki Sadeki says, that the mark of the beast is his system that he put in place long time ago. People don't even know they're already in the mark of the beast. They're just solidifying it now. Because in order to really benefit in this world, you must be conformed to some type of religious belief, especially in the concept of Christianity and Islam. But look who the wealthiest people in the world are in Judaism. Okay. Know that all of you who are called Tokuis, followers of him, in this world, very little is missing and you will already leave it. So what he was even showing, hey, it's not about the material things. You're going to get in, you're going to be, you're going to be lacking, you're going to be trying, when you get into this thing, you are going to have a lot of money. Now, does the Most High going to bring the people from this dispersed with the wealth? Of course. But the belongings that you have in the land of the captivity will be worthless to him. He will bring what they stole from him, not what we created for ourselves in this dispersion. Because it's going to get gone, non-existent, erased. Many of the things that people sitting here standing on today will not be here. And this is not, we're not talking about way in the future, as they want to keep pushing it. Relatively soon, many things that you value and cherish are going to become history. Because the devil is a liar. People think, oh, yeah, we have the time of tribulation. You are the Bantu. The time of tribulation was for the Benakongo, the Benanzambis, and those who attached to them. Everybody else, hey, that's why these people call you goyim, going, sheeple, led to the slaughter, because they know that they modified the scriptures to favor those who were going to make money. They used the Most High's word to make money, to become rich, to become powerful, to be in control. And then they used the ministers to play along with it. But they must act like they're helping. Or been convinced that they're helping, when they don't even realize the disparity is being created by the system itself already. This is why many people, they think they can manifest the power of the Holy Spirit, but yet the hospital beds and the sicknesses and the illnesses, every generation, they keep compounding themselves. You have to understand, many of the illnesses that you see today did not exist 100 some years ago. They did not. Even 200 or something years ago. In the days of Noka, let me read something to you. This is how you can, this I'm going to tell you. This is why they didn't put this one in the Bible. The second book of Adam and Eve. Let me break it down for you why they made it a world of vanity. Okay, because it happened before. And I'll end with this. Then Satan, when he saw that they yielded to Ganon and hearkened to him, that everything he had told them, rejoiced greatly, increased Ganon's understanding until he took iron and made weapons of war. Then when they were drunk, hatred, murder increased among them. One man used violence against another to teach him violence, taking his children and defiling them before him. Does that not sound familiar? During this time, worldwide. And when men saw that they were overcome and saw others that were not, overpowered those who were beaten, came to Ganon, took refuge with him, and made them his confederates. So the strongest person, they hide, right? You see how they hide in hell. Then sin increased among them greatly, until a man married his own sister. Does that not sound familiar? Or daughter, or mother, and others, or the daughters of his father's, okay, sister, so that there was no more distinction of relationship, and they no longer knew what was iniquity, but did wickedly, and the earth was defiled with sin, and they angered the Most High Tatanzami, the judge, who had created them. Okay? But Ganon gathered together companies upon companies that played on the horns and on all the instruments, and we have already mentioned at the foot of the holy mountain. And they did in order that the children of Seth, remember there's still a righteous order today. People don't even know. Who were on the holy mountain should hear it. Okay? So the musicians played a role in bringing sin. Music. The many people in the industry, they know what they're doing. But when the children of Seth heard the noise, they wandered and came by a company and stood on top of the mountain and looked at those below. And they did thus a whole year. And at the end of the year, Ganon saw that they were being won over to little by little. Shaytani entered into him and taught him to make dyeing of garments and divers patterns, and made him understand how to dye crimson and purple and whatnot. Does that not sound familiar about dyeing your clothes and dyeing your hair? Okay, there's nothing new under the sun, people. And the sons of Cain, who wrought all those and shone in beauty and gorgeous apparel. Why do you think they have the fashion shows and the modeling? Okay, I can't say too much about that. I have relatives in there, but again, the Most High is not about vanity. This is where we've been deceived. This is why they said, make Yakubi sin, right? Gathered together at the foot of the mountain in splendor with horns and gorgeous dresses and horse races and committing all manner of abominations. Isn't that what the club is for? Okay? All right. So you see, the fashion industry. And there's a person, I was listening to this video, and they were interviewing a fashion person who was giving away the secret. They said all of our stuff comes from France, and France's top people, they get it from Lucifer. They know that everything that they're doing now was done in the end of days of Noah. Okay? Now, the Most High's people were dressed and arrayed in certain apparel that was modest, but at the same time wasn't overly, promiscuous, because he said we weren't supposed to be a distraction. You know how that works. They think that black people, Bantus, we just dress wild and crazy. Yes, I know they have the ceremonies that the Zulus do. Okay, and I know that's all about virginity and all that. I know there's some connections biblically to that as well. But again, we see that the intention is different, because it's not about lust. It really shouldn't be about lust. But see, he's showing us that this is how the spirits can also make you consider the lust aspect. This is why we destroy one another with so much sex and debauchery. I was looking at this guy's video. He's showing you the real Dominican Republic and how people have to survive. And many people are doing it through prostitution, drugs, and they also working, they're doing a lot of things that they shouldn't have to do if people were doing what the apostles were sent to do: distribute the wealth evenly. We're not doing that. Now people say that, well, that's communism. Well, communism wasn't distributing the wealth easily, right? So this is wrong. It's still wrong. So now you're seeing the enemy of Tatanzambi Mpungu Talendo, for those of you who want to continue to think it's right, is capitalism. Because the word means you capitalize on your gains, which means you become way more rich than others and you enjoy the splurge and splendor of it. That is upside down from the Creator Himself. So you are being led astray by false teachings. This is why they always want to push to say, oh, we have people who are the enemies of our democracy and the enemies of this and our way of life. The way of life of the most of this country goes against the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this is where you've been deceived. Period. That's why he don't call it the U.S. He calls it Babylon. Because you are in the land of confusion. And they even put it out there for you in secret. But it's in obvious plain sight. Because they, like Toko said, they hide the truth from you. They know that they have brought you down to the slaughter because you trust in men and not the Most High. And he always said, lean not on your own understanding. Your trust should be in him. But then you go into churches and you think that you're trusting in the Creator of the Bible, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Abana and Saka Yakubi, and he's looking at you like, then what is your pastor teaching you? Because there's more people here that should be prophesying. There should be more people here. You should not have to worry about secrets among the congregation with the Holy Spirit. In the assembly that Toko put together, I can tell you right now, these people know what's going on in the assembly. Now, of course, you can still choose to believe what you want, and the Malikas can still talk. But that is also your personal preference of how you decide to believe things. But you can see everything was already put in motion, what, 50, 70 years ago? Is that about right? No, 60 years ago. There's your 6. The man of sin be revealed. See me? It's time. He's going to be revealed. They already had the whole thing they knew was planned, pre-programmed. They put it in the movies. They put it out there in the media. They used the arms race as an excuse. The whole concept about going to the outer space. They're trying to do the exact same thing. They tried to find new ways to do what Nimrod tried to do with the Tower of Babel that he failed, disguising it as we're traveling the stars. Wait till you see how they have deceived that concept. Because it was the fallen angels in the days of Noka that taught people how to read the stars, and they did it again after. Because they know the stars are what? Malekis. Whoo, boy. Anyway, Maliki means angels. It's right there in the book of Revelation. It tell you Christians they go to the school and they learn this stuff, and it tell you right there in the book of Revelation, Shaytani took a third of the stars. You were born under Maliki angels, and not everybody's born under the good angel. That's the deception. Because the reality is when you are cut off as a nation, you are not connected to the Creator. You are connected to the gods you worship. That has never changed. That's why Kuswa Kongo had to say salvation comes to the Ahunde, who are connected to the Father. But they have been disconnected because of disobedience, where they were sent out away from him several times. And this is why the nations will now bring you back, because they're going to realize it. Hey, what did you teach us here? Because it isn't just going to be the awakening. You have to understand, this is what woke culture means. Woke culture means the nations are waking up to the lies, and we are waking up to the lies. That the world has been lied to by those who are in power. And now, as the most I was talking about it, the thief is trying to do the getaway. They're going to try to erase everything and make you want it more. Because like I said, the desperation time is coming. But there will be those who will be above that. Okay? All right. Sambololo, Zola Quingi, Weza Yabe Kongo Tutwala. And like I said, we must come to the realization, okay? The straw man is a real thing. The person in the grave is who they're taxing and who they're giving all of this stuff to, and who they're causing all these problems. But the living man is the one that they're impacting. Because like it says, you were born on paper and you were born in flesh. And the one on the paper is the one that they're actually doing stuff with. So the whole criminal, this is why I try to tell people, they're making you go to jail over something that isn't real. They're making you do things illegal for something that isn't real. And they laugh about it. This is monopoly money. They have you chasing your tail on purpose. But they put it out there like it's real. This is the Matrix. I'm talking about it. Nothing about this world is what it seems because of the prince of the air. Because his time was given to him and he has deceived the whole world. Period. And we must come to the realization that the Most High's guidance back to giving us, like he talks about the buying power, who took it away in the first place. The Most High has to give us back the buying power that he took from us. Or the favoritism. He has to bring it back, and this is what we're doing now. But again, there must be, like Toko was saying, a separation from the desire for things, to put it to where it is a communicative effort of our people, once again, to where we all are lacking in nothing. Not just a few. That's how it is now. Because that is how Kuswa Kongo set it up. We all are not supposed to be lacking in anything. Because the Most High provides everything for us. But the way it has been taught and misinterpreted is the problem. Because they used the jealousy and the envy and those different things that we always have problems with against us. Always. So we have to get rid of the jealousy, the envy, the pride, to become Kintwari, to become unified, to be able to do things to where we can unify ourselves. You have to put your own wishes aside and do the wish and know if it's the wish and verify if it's desire of the Most High. Because some people can do things and they think it's the Most High's will, and He didn't want that. And this is why even now there are people being led astray in this awakening. And we will see it. Because they got the agents still out there, still doing their part to make it look like it. Because remember, Simon the sorcerer spirit, Nimrod didn't just go away. He ain't just going to be like, here, have it, take it. Look how far he had to go to try to kill Abraham. He hates the Bena Congo with a passion that he will do. Shaytani hates Isolele. He hates the Bena Congo, and he will do whatever he can. So you must be, like Isaiah said, wise as a serpent, but innocent as a dove, which means no condemnation. For real, not like the way the Christians think. For real, no condemnation. That's why he says there's even Pharisees now still in the Bantus. And he will root them out. All right. Sambololo, Zola Kringe, Inaweza ya Vikongo Kutwala, and everybody have a blessed week. Ingita.